Hi, my name is Vishal. I'm going to discuss about the mesh light in the Arnold software of Maya. So what I've got right now in the scene is the polygon spheres placed on a plane, and I've assigned a default AI standard surface to them, and I've got a torus model here. So I'm going to take that torus model and I'm going to make it as a light. So there are a couple of ways in which I can make the light here. The first way is going into the Arnold section, and in lights we have this option called mesh light. Okay, once we got that, we can generally make it possible light adjustments to render. So I'm just going to render this, and you see you have got this one complete dark scene. And I'll just go to the options here, and if you see there is something called exposure, I'll set the exposure value of 10, and then you should see something illuminating. The torus is illuminating, and you could see that in the reflections, and it's light on the model. But if you want to make the light visible, then you can go for this option called light visible. Then you could see that light is visible here. So this is sort of illuminated surface, but if you go to this option, you'll be able to see a mesh which is basically rendered. So mesh is not visible for the reason I just select the light here. I'll just create a directional light and see if this light is going to show up. I need to close and open. Arnold has that refreshing problem. Show original mesh. Yeah, I could see that light. So this is showing in a normal shader. You can assign any shader you want to it. If you say light visibility, this will show up like a illuminated surface. So you have a shader based show mesh option and a light sort of light option here. Okay. And also you have the color temperature, where you could generally reduce the temperature and give the result there, or increase the temperature and you get that nice blue lighting there, or the red lighting or the white lighting. Anything should be okay. So if I just open the outliner, and then if you see the polytorus, you have the light in it. So I'm deleting that light, and you have nothing now. Okay, nothing now. So if I select the geometry there, and in Arnold section you have Arnold translator, and if you just go to this option called mesh light, now you get the light related options here, which are very similar to what we have seen in the earlier case. So what's the difference here is we don't have that show original mesh option, which is missing, and apart from that everything is same. So you can take any character or model and make it as a light. Apart from that, you have something else. For example, I select this, I make it as a polymesh and assign AI standard surface shader. Okay, so I don't have any light here. Okay, there is no light, whether it is the mesh light or whether it is the mesh light from the shape mode. There is no light. Now what I do is I just go to the AI standard surface shader, and we have the diffuse, which I make it to 0, and I don't want any specularity to that, and I just go down to the emission section and increase the emission value. I should see emission is also giving a lighting. Then this is not a direct lighting, it's a indirect lighting. Okay, so if I, instead of giving the solid color. I can even give a texture. For example, I'm going to give a 3D texture, and I just give something like that, and you should see that a nice as if it is burning some material, whether it is wood or metal, and you are seeing its illumination. So this is greatly useful when we are making any incandescent or self-illuminating objects shading. They not only give up the result, they also contribute for the lighting, which gives or adds an extra realism to the whole scene. So keeping that in mind, I just make a typography related example here, mainly in the neon signage. So for the neon signage, I will just go to the create option, and then we have this type. So I pick the type here. So we got a 3D type text, which is here written. So I can type anything I want. So I'm going to type. Okay, and enter. Okay, so I'll just choose a font called Kingston. Okay, so if I just go closer, this is a N1, so I need to fix that. Before fixing that, I just go to the here we got the extrusion, so I reduce the extrusion there. I'll just put a value of 0.1, then enable bevel. I just wanted it to be more like a tube. That is the main. Intention. Okay, so that I've got that nice bevel, the roundness here. So what I do is I just Okay, as the text is very thin, I'm facing some problem, but yeah, it's achieved. Now what I do is I just select the model here and then go to the polygon section and then use this option called Triangulate. Okay, Triangulate is very important. I'll not do the Triangulate and show you what happens if I don't do it. Firstly, I just align it. So when I was aligning here, I'm just getting some weird effects. So I just don't do that alignment this way. Rather, I just use this option called separate and then select all the geometry here and then align that way. That's cool. So I just take a plane, I just place it behind scale it. I will assign AI standard surface shader. So I have assigned AI standard surface shader for the background, and for both of them I'll just combine it so it becomes one piece like that. Make sure that it is slightly away from the result. So what I do is I will now delete the history of this model and then go to the Arnold and then use this AI mesh light. I would prefer this here, not from the shape node. Okay, so I just set up my new camera, enable the resolution gate, and then put it like that. Now let's go for the render. Select the light. Okay, I'll put an exposure value of 10. Okay, or maybe 15. That's way too much. 13 should do the job. So I'll take some nice blue color there. Now the original mesh is not visible either ways, whether I go with this method. Now you should see some problem here. Okay, because that is an n-gon, and render will tessellate that n-gon, and tessellation gives me that weird effect. So it's not really good. So I need to fix that also. So I don't prefer the light visibility initially, and I just go to the camera, and if you see here, this is the n-gon. Use this tool called Triangulate. So I think it's the geometry, and use the Triangulate option. Okay, so that gives me the triangles. Now if you see the result here, now when I render it and enable light visibility, you don't get that problem anymore. Okay, but if you are expecting this control on the color of the text, then you should avoid using light visible and then enable original mesh, and to that mesh assign a AI standard surface shader, and remove the base mesh value, specular value, and then enable emission. Just let's see if the light show original mesh is. Sometimes I need to close and open the Arnold. I'll just take green color to see if this is working or not. Let me remove the exposure and try. Emission is on, original mesh is on. This option is sometimes creating problem. Yeah, now it has come. Now exposure value of 10 or maybe 12.5 as we have done earlier, and then in the text we will in the light we will change, not light, in the text itself we change the color. So alternately I'll just go for a different color. I'll just go for a yellow color here, and in the light I'll take the red color. So that gives a very interesting colors. So you get that yellow text and the red illumination. In Photoshop you can achieve by this outer glow, but this is 3D. That means you can move around the text, or you get the depth if you start, you know, moving in a different angle altogether. You see that? This effect you don't get in your regular 2D softwares. So you get that nice depth when you have put this in an angle. Not only that, if there is something before this, and you get the lighting. For example, I'll create a polygon sphere and scale this sphere, assign the AI standard surface shader, and then you get the lighting from the text. So this is not possible in your 2D softwares, but yeah. So when you're making motion graphics for any of your clients in 3D, then this should be of greater use. And that's the reflections on the sphere. So we may see one more example here. I'll just go to the create and type here, and then type so I'll just look in for any font here. I'm just looking for any thick font. Let's see this Segway UI black text. It is quite bulky and thick. So I just go to the type, and then I will go to the geometry, and I'll enable the bevel, and that should give me that nice roundness. And I'll go to the texturing here and then assign shader for 3 different entities. One is the cap, one is the bevel, and one is the extrusion. So for extrusion, I'll break the connection and then take a AI standard surface shader there. So you can just like that give a extrude shader. So I'll give a color which is going to be the red, and switch off the diffuse and specularity. And then we have the bevel shader. So there I'll be taking the AI standard surface shader, and we take the black color and leave it like that. And in the type shader, we'll take the AI standard surface shader again, and then we take the black color like that. But for the bevel, if you see, it has the specularity. Let's give them as bevel shader, and for this we'll name this as the cap shader. I'll just pick okay, I'll not change anything before. We'll go for a test render and see how this is going to. So I'll just create a new camera like that. I just want that red to be visible nicely. If I'm perfectly front, I don't see much, so I'm just giving an angle. That's cool. So I select the camera, which is the render camera, and I want to lock that view like that. So I've just put this slightly in angle. Now just go to the Arnold render view and then render this. I should see some nice outer glow here, and then you have the shadow sort of red color, and we have taken the bevel. I'll try to add a bit more interest to this. So what I do is I just go to the perspective view and then create a plane there, and then I scale this plane like that, and then just rotate it. And what I do is I'll assign a AI standard surface shader, and then make the color black, specularity black, and I use the emission value there. I just switch I just render it again. I should see some highlights forming on the model. So I just select the text, and then you'll find the cap shader. I'll increase the specularity of this, which will add some nice third dimension. If I can make it more rough to get that nice 3D effect. Now just go to the bevel shader, and then maybe I increase the metalness. I should see some nice lines forming on the text, which gives that nice 3D look. Now if I select the plane here and move this plane, and I should see that highlight is traveling over the model. So you get very interesting title for maybe your demo reels, or maybe you're interested in motion graphic videos. This should generally give a classy look. If you feel that the background is too to responding, then you can select the shader, and then sorry, I need to assign a shader to it. I'll be assigning AI standard surface shader, and then I will remove the specularity so that you avoid that reflections on it, and keep it low, and give a nice theme to this. That's really nice. Sometimes even you can add some extra detail to the redness here. So I just select the shader, which is the extrude shader. In that, I will see to add a ramp in a normal way first. I'll just choose the smooth interpolation and then pick a red color like that, and see what I get here. So I'm getting the ramp based on the UVs, which is not really working. So I'll just try the ramp in a different way. So here, when I take the ramp, I need to right click on this and then choose as projection, and then pick the colors, and then choose the interpolation to smooth, and then choose interactive placement. So we get a handle here which is going to control this interactively. Then you got nice ramp there, which is giving me that nice bar. So I just this looks nice actually. This is pretty awesome actually. Maybe I can go further, and here I'll pick a yellow, and here also I'll pick a yellow. I get that nice yellow in middle. If yellow is too strong, then you can make it slightly orangish, and that gives nice illumination. That's pretty awesome. I can come here to the plane and move it, and duplicate this. That will give two highlights on two sides, which can add much more value to the whole effect. I mean, highlight is here and highlight is here, and there's no highlight in the middle. But if you want a bigger one, then you can generally take a bigger one, break it here, and then start it here. That also adds nice interest. That's cool. So as you keep doing, things are looking much better and better, and sky is the limit.